Hey guys, this is Joe, and I'm here to do a song share about the song Moments by Emerson Drive. And Emerson Drive started as a Canadian country band, and they became very popular there and moved to the United States and became even more popular. The song was written by Dave Berg, Annie Tate, and Sam Tate, and they wanted to do a collaborative effort that talked about human redemption and these qualities and traits of alluding to depression, mistakes, and the fall and rebuild of the human character. So many of these points of the song's popularity and success involve around a storyline, and this story has a happy ending. The lyrics keep the listener intrigued to see where the story is going to go. It's relatable to many people with elements of the human falling and rebuilding of character and mistakes. And then the simplicity of the melodic contour, the shape of the melody for the verse and refrain, as well as the constant repetition of the hook. I've had my moments. So we'll go into all those details in the next few minutes. So I mentioned a story component to this song, and in verse 1, the main character, or the singer, is walking near the East Street Bridge and being followed by a homeless man. So he offers him some change, and he says he wouldn't need it anyway, and the listener is prompted to think, well, why not? What's about to happen? What's going on? And the homeless man takes the change, and he looks very much ashamed of where he is in life and what he's doing, and it prompts him to open up to the young man about things that made him feel human and whole, like coming home from the war when he served in the military, or the birth of his son. And these are all things that humans can relate to on an emotional level. Verse 2 continues with the dialogue of the old man and the young man on the bridge. And the young man says he wonders if people would miss him when he's gone. And now the listener is kind of taken to a darker place. And although not everything is fit together, we can start to piece together the scenario that's about to transpire. The homeless man, through dialogue, gets the young man to open up about things that made him feel human and whole, like walking away from alcoholism to marry the love of his life, which he says that this love got him through the toughest of times in his life and kind of made him remember that. When you move to the bridge, it goes to a trash can fire with the homeless man telling other homeless people around him about his triumph, which is the big reveal to the listener where he saved this young man's life. The young man was about to commit suicide and jump off this bridge, and through showing his own love and attention, the homeless man talked him down from this. And the story ends in a type of redemption for both men. The homeless man regains purpose, and the young man finds the will to survive and live and persevere under these conditions. And the song really is a lot of relatability to people. Mistakes are made, life events we don't plan for occur, and this leads to emotions of insecurity, irrational thought, and loneliness, maybe just not on the same big scale as this young man on the bridge. Yet, as humans, we have our own stories to tell, and we can bounce back from these situations, especially with some love and encouragement from people and those around us. In this case, this homeless man may be an unexpected figure to play the hero, but that just adds to the beauty of this song. The overall form of Moments is based on a verse-refrain model with a very short bridge section built in before the final refrain. And this is common with many songs in the pop genre and the country genre for this time, and it meets the listening expectations of most listeners of this type of music, making it more relatable. The verses have the form of AAB, and there really aren't many skips in the melody line or the contour, which again makes it easier for the listener to remember the tune. The refrain is similar to the verse with a slight modification in the form. It's A prime, and B. And the difference in A and A prime are the notes resolve downward at the end of the phrase of A prime as opposed to resolving upward or really unresolved upward on the first A phrase. About 90% of the refrain uses the same four notes, and they move mainly in a stepwise motion. So, I've had my moments, days in the sun, moments, second to none, moments, moves very stepwise based on a scale, which again makes it memorable and easy for the average person to learn and sing. It's also worth noting that the hook of this song, I've had my moments, is positioned at the very beginning of each refrain and at the very end of each refrain. This three-note segment is repeated frequently throughout the piece, giving the listener ample opportunity to get attached to the song's title and meaning. So take a listen to a musical example of the first refrain.
I've had my moments, days in the sun, moments I was second to none, moments when I knew I did coming home from the war that summer. My son was born. Memories like a coat so warm the cold wind can't get through. Looking at me now, you might not know it, but I've had my moments.
It's important to note that instrumentation and texture play a vital role in a listener's experience as well. Moments opens up with a brief instrumental introduction, and it only lasts 17 seconds, but it incorporates all the instruments except for one, and that's the electric guitar. When the first verse begins at 18 seconds, the only instruments that accompany the singer include the acoustic guitar, which is the picking of strings, and a soft percussion with shakers. This creates an ambiance that's reminiscent of a story's beginning, and dynamically this is a huge contrast to the brief introduction that we just heard at the start of the song, so it draws in the attention of the listeners and places an importance on the upcoming lyrics. Here's an example of that introduction and the beginning of the first verse.
I was coming to the end of a long, long walk when a man crawled out of a cardboard box under the East Street Bridge.
So there are a few more musical intricacies to take note of that make the song special. At 58 seconds, the first refrain is introduced, and every time the word moments is sung, there's three-part vocal harmonies that accompany it, which accentuates the title of the song and the importance of its usage within the storyline. At 1 minute and 36 seconds, the story continues into the second verse, and their dynamics remain pretty soft so they can build as the story progresses, but it's essentially the same form and structure as the first refrain, yet the listener is given a different experience through ornamentation of piano and some guitar filler that gets placed in the middle and at the end of some phrases. In particular, the guitar comes in at the word ashamed near the end of the second verse. The second refrain is played at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and it's from the vantage point again of the storyteller, the man who's about to commit suicide, and it's the loudest dynamic yet. And the purpose of this is to show a reaffirmation that this man is convincing himself there is purpose and potential in his life, which ultimately leads him to abandon his suicidal attempt. The bridge, though it's comprised of only two short vocal phrases, offers a huge dynamic contrast again to the previous refrain then. And again, a dynamic change of this magnitude tells the listener to pay attention to something. In this case, the lyrics, which give the big reveal to the happy ending and the redemption of the two characters in the story. The final refrain begins at 3 minutes and 7 seconds, and something to take note of is the words "thought I couldn't do." There is almost no instrumentation at the beginning of this final refrain, and on "thought I couldn't do," it's strongly accented on beats 1 and 3.5 beats to accent the idea of the homeless man finding his own redemption and helping to save the young man's life. In addition, the words "looking at me now, you might not know it" are repeated at the very end of this refrain to give the listener one more look at another hidden meaning, which is "don't judge a book by its cover." And at the very end of the piece, around 4 minutes and 17 seconds, the piece fades out instrumentally with some additional ornamentation to give the listener a chance to contemplate what they've just heard and what experience and the wonderful storyline and message it has to offer. So to sum things up, songwriters can use a multitude of techniques to create effective and memorable music for people. In the song Moments, the writers chose to tell a story about human struggle, something that many people can relate to very well. And the story is accentuated with emotion through the use of contrasting dynamics, vocal timbre, and texture to evoke as much emotion as possible from the listeners and to create empathy and sympathy for the characters in the story. In conjunction with an easy-to-sing melody line and a repeated hook, these elements propelled Moments to the #1 slot in the Billboard US Hot Country Songs list. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you can take with you some key elements that will help you to write some amazing music in the future. And feel free to click on a link that has the full version of Moments.